On this week's installment of the State Champs Esports Show, we start up our second Spring League of Legends tournament, go in depth with the new game Outriders, and bring you an interview from LTUX. Hello, I'm Candace, and I'll be your host today for another exciting, informative, and insightful episode of the State Champs Esports Show. As always, we're brought to you by our friends over at Lawrence Tech and Hungry Howie's. To start things off, let's meet an international student who has recently joined Lawrence Tech's varsity esports program.
I'm really excited to bring Emilio on. He's a support player for League of Legends, and he's really passionate about making the team successful and being a part of something successful. And I think that passion will show in his gameplay and amongst his growing teammates.
I first started playing League about 7 years ago with my friends, and they just weren't playing at the same mentality that I was playing. I wanted to get better and better at the game, and they were comfortable with just making the same mistakes over and over because it is, after all, just a game, but I wanted to be like a more competitive game. So then when I got here, I started seeing people playing at what started out as GGLeagues and is now more competitive than GGLeagues with CLOL. And I thought, maybe this is my chance to find people that also want to not make the same mistakes over and over again. Personally, I'm looking forward to growing as a player, playing against good people and seeing how I stack up against them. But I also am looking forward to seeing how the team grows, how it's going to look when I leave it versus how it started out, how it is right now. I was looking at universities that had a good game design program, and this university was among them. I started applying to universities, seeing which ones appealed to me more than others, and LTU just looked like the best choice. Coming here as an international, I thought it would be more difficult than it ended up being. The people here are very friendly. You meet people from all over the world, so you can find a place to fit into. And when it comes to playing, you don't need to have the same culture or the same background as people who play. You just need to play the same game, and everything will sort of fit together in how you play with how they play. If you're planning on coming to LTU, it's okay if you have an idea of what you want to do here, you did your research, and you come here with that goal in mind. But it's also okay if you don't have an idea of what you want to do specifically and you come here to experience. You can come here and learn everything about what you like doing, what you don't like doing. You maybe end up not choosing the path that you wanted to in the first place, but that is still perfectly fine. We come here to university to learn and to experience. With the gaming program in general, maybe you realize that you don't really like making games, and that will be fine. Yeah, the gaming program offers you programming skills or art skills in general. You can use those wherever you want.
Hi, I'm Ethan Avery, and let's take a look at some League of Legends action from the GG League Finals between LTU and Too Tired. Lawrence Tech up early, and here come the TPs for a Fiesta bot.
Malphite all gets a two-man knock-up. Thresh just CCing the Cho'Gath, pulling him back. Ezreal is all on his own. He's able to take down the Vayne. Morgana both died.
Then a fight over the Rift Herald breaks out.
And that's a very good way to get your Vayne back in the game. You don't want to be fighting here as a three-man Malphite alt lands.
And it would be all LTU here in game one.
Forward to try and get onto the Vayne. The ultimate from the Yone getting a double kill onto both the Morgana and the Vayne.
Now, on to game two. Things looking more even this time after the first 15 minutes, but we get action mid to change that.
Diving in onto the Ezreal. Now it looks like he's going to get picked up here too. He's trying to get out. Yone diving in to try and help his friend, although he looks like he's taking a ton of damage and has to just get out of there as well.
Then another fight over the Rift, this time all 10 players involved.
There's the TP coming in from the Sylas. They're going to look to try and turn this around. There's the Wukong diving in, getting a three-man knock-up. Bulletstorm coming down, followed up by the Jarvan, locking everybody down. Sylas stealing the Yone ult, diving in.
Later on, LTU able to pick up the Dragon Soul, but it would still be neck and neck.
The fight here, flashing it, ulting in, onto the Karma there. Now, you see the ultimate coming down from the Jarvan onto the Riven.
Then, with a Baron and Elder on top of that Soul, LTU would come away the victors.
Looks like he's almost getting picked out by the Sylas, although Elder is finishing them off Absolutely. Kills going down all across, and that is going to be the ace, and that is going to be game 2 going to LTU.
Hey guys, this week we're looking at a game that I was personally really excited about, the looter shooter Outriders. Outriders, Square Enix's new looter shooter, came out on April 1st to hungry players, but not without a rocky start. Joining me for this review is my friend and state champs videographer, Alex Sweet. We've been playing and recording it together.
Glad to be a part of it this week.
Well, let's get into it. Why don't you start us off?
You play as an Outrider who arrives on the planet Enoch with the only surviving colony ship sent from a dying Earth. Shortly after arriving, you are put into cryosleep and wake up years later. Awoken and confused, your character is thrown into a new war and discovers they have newfound abilities. For me, the biggest positive was the visuals. Everything looks beautiful and the environments are detailed. Sound design for cutscenes were amazing as well. When it came to the story, I felt it was a little lackluster and the story was pretty generic. Voice acting was a little weak for the male character, but the female voice actor's performance was strong.
The controls of the game felt pretty good, but at times were a little bit clunky. While playing, I definitely felt inspiration for the cover-based shooting from games like The Division and the looter shooter aspects and sci-fi skills from games like Destiny. These work surprisingly well together, with each class enhancing more cover-based style fighting or rushdown shotgunning like I was doing. The skills and controls all feel very responsive. There aren't really any input issues. However, the game can definitely be a bit clunky, with going from cover to cover. Sometimes your character either won't do it, or will just stop mid-rush, leaving you wide open. Personally, I can look past a few clunky things, I know I have before, but where it got really bad was the launch day server crashes. Not being able to load in, the game quitting it altogether, not letting you play with friends got really dry, not to mention, they even temporarily shut down cross-platforming until they fix the server issues. Not to mention several crashes and bugs in the game were happening as well, from graphics being clipped out, the game just closing out altogether, and personally the one I hated the most was where your entire HUD and UI just disappeared. There are fixes for some of these and workarounds, but not all of them have them, and it kind of sucks to have to go and Google that while you're just trying to play the game.
Outriders has multiple classes for you to choose from. For my character, I chose to play a Technomancer. The class focuses on long-range combat and support, being able to place down cryo turrets and mines to freeze enemies in place, use a rocket launcher or minigun to take out large groups of enemies or suppress them in cover. Unlike other classes which gain health back by securing a kill, the Technomancer gets its health back from dealing damage. Along with abilities, each class has a perk tree that allows you to specialize your class. For example, the Technomancer has a tree where you can become a high damage sniper, or a support class that focuses on crowd control and healing your co-op partners. The one issue I had gameplay-wise was specific to the Technomancer class. There's an ability you get that enhances your bullets. When it's activated, you get this distortion effect that makes it sound like your speakers are being blown out and it's almost impossible to hear anything else while it's up. Unlike the story, the lore you can find in the game is well written and gives you great background on the characters and locations you're exploring.
Outriders definitely breathes some fresh air into the looter shooter genre. With some pretty cool powers and the ability to make some pretty crazy builds, energetic visuals, it adds a lot. Unfortunately, with the launch day server issues and several game crashes, it brings the game down quite a bit for me. Alec, what do you think? Wait to buy or get it now?
I personally played the game on both Xbox Series X and PC. My experience on Xbox was a lot smoother, surprisingly compared to my PC. While playing on PC, I encountered a lot more issues, even just trying to get the game to launch or just to connect me to the servers. Personally, I'd recommend waiting to buy Outriders if you're planning on playing on PC until they hash out the bugs. But if you're looking to get it on PS5 or the Xbox Series S or X, it'll be a fun experience.
All week long, Lawrence Tech students have been hosting LTUX, which is a gaming convention that has gone virtual this year due to the COVID pandemic. We've been live streaming everything over on our Twitch channel at State Champs Esports, so you can catch the recent broadcasts there. Now, here's a small taste of what you'll find.
Going to be a bit of an educational topic, but students first versus the player first mentality. You're a scholar first. That's their first goal for you to be. But how do you think this affects participation, within the leagues you guys participate in, or the organizations you guys has?
You're right, Joel. I think the main thing to remember when you're starting to participate in college esports teams is that you are still in college, and that's your main goal, is to acquire a degree that you set out to get, and it's to have a great experience while you're at the university. If the student isn't successful, then we aren't going to be successful as a program. The goal is to mold young minds so that they can utilize their skills that they learned while they're here and then carry it on to their careers in adulthood. Even if they don't decide to go into esports.
One thing that we suggest is if you can pair or mirror your traditional sports requirements, qualifications for academics, that makes accountability, stronger when it comes to students being students, and then being involved in their extracurriculars as a reward for being good students. But I know that in some places, esports could be the only thing that's bringing a student to school. So to cut them from the one thing that's a positive in their school experience, because of grades, it might not be a blanket call across all districts to do the exact same model. But definitely, from my perspective at my school, I run my own program there as well. The students have to be students first and then be players secondarily, but we're into the competitive side of esports. We're not there to just show up. We want to play, we want to win.
Even as a tournament organizer, right, we have obviously slightly different dynamics between us and players, right? We're not the coaches, but still for us, we think it should be student first. And it's something that we keep in mind as we form all of our competitions, right? It starts with how we structure them, the rules that we go into, right? We always try to make sure the games are in the evening so they don't conflict with class times that people would have, right? We do our best to avoid finals weeks, as requested by a lot of our players, right? Even when it comes to thinking about pricing. The way we do that is trying to enable students to receive scholarships for good performance for play in the leagues, which allows them to better able to achieve their educational goals. And on top of that, we even have a kind of an internship program that we do with a lot of the schools as well, where we offer real work experience for students in the world of esports, right? While that may not be specifically student focused, right? That is, focused on their career, focused on them beyond just playing the game.
So I think I'll probably have a unique perspective because I'm still in school. So I'm at the University of Michigan Dearborn. So I've got high expectations for myself, but also for the students, because as a student, I know I have to get my things done too. So I'm able to coach, able to attend practices. We kind of have a saying at our school, which is do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. So it's kind of how we run it for everything. Obviously, they're student athletes and they're treated just like any other sports program at Catholic Central. More of a privilege to be on the team than necessarily a right, and you kind of have to earn that by working hard in the classroom.
So there are some universities that they very much want to win. I think of it as similar to like D1 traditional sports. They're very much, that's their bread and butter. Like we are under NACE, and that's kind of like, it's not a governing body, but it's more of a association, and their requirements are no different than, NCAA or NAIA, which is you have to maintain a 2.0. And I mean, most of us have been to college classes or have graduated college classes that, that 2.0 is not as difficult to maintain. So they really focus on talent. And I mean, it's hard because people are dedicating so much time into perfecting their craft that if you're spending all this time playing, League of Legends or Rocket League or whatever game and focusing on that, then something's going to give. And sometimes sometimes unfortunately it is your studies.
What do you do if they're, approached by, kind of like a traditional sports, approached by someone who wants them to go professional versus, the idea of them going to college and then becoming a professional?
Okay, sure. It's like, what happens when the world moves on beyond your game? Esports, it's a fast-moving world, and what's popular today might not be popular tomorrow. So what happens when the game that you're the master of is no longer popular, if there's no longer competitions for it? You have to diversify your skills to be able to move with where the wind is blowing, I guess. So we try to emphasize that, like, there is this world of the competition, but also there's this secondary, tertiary, there's this like ripple effect of all these industries are associated with these sports. If you are really into the game and you really want to get into the professional scene, most players don't go pro, but they may be an athletic trainer, or they may be a production specialist, or they may be in hospitality and event planning or something like that. So we just try to open up students' eyes that the game is one part of it, but it's kind of like in the NASCAR world, there's one driver, but there's like an army of people behind them. Pick something that's got longevity, that's got versatility, and that you can transfer those skills into other places in your life and career.
All right, that's a wrap on this week's show. We'll be back next time with a fresh batch of gaming and esports goodness. Before we go, a quick reminder to make sure to subscribe to our podcast, Gamers Unlimited, on all major platforms. Thanks for watching, and peace out.